adjectives go all the way back to our grammar wars on Monday when we were talking about modifiers, right? So I need some adjectives. Okay, you can do this on your piece of paper or raise your hand. Lacey.
Well, do you mean Siddhartha character or Siddhartha book?
The book, that's why I gave you a picture of the book right there. Good question though. You got one? All right. Warm those brains up. Noah.
I would say towards the beginning of the book, he was a deep thinker. As you see him kind of progress and expand out to the other religions and just people around.
Okay.
You could see him analyze things more, and then as he kind of progressed, he kind of became more of a free thinker, and then more of an outside.
Okay, so Noah, if you had to with that in mind, if you had to describe just the book using an adjective, what word would you use? Think about it, we'll come back to it. Yeah.
Peaceful or open-minded.
Peaceful, open-minded, I like it. Good morning, gentlemen, come on in. Guys that just walked in, you need a half sheet of paper, all right, and then you need your film notes from Little Buddha, okay? All right, Kayla? Informative, educational, good. What piece was really educational for you?
I actually thought of the first half of the letter, because it was when he was searching for enlightenment, and it showed a lot of the background of the Brahmins and the Samanas.
Okay, good. Anyone else have any adjectives in mind? Trent?
I'd say it was really kind of thoughtful.
Thoughtful, I like it, I like it. Tanner?
Maybe spiritual or pious.
Or what was the last one?
Pious.
Pious, good man. What'd you eat for breakfast this morning? Waffle, I think we should all do that. Pious, where'd that come from? I love it. Okay, yeah, Junior?
Explorative.
Yeah, good one, especially in the beginning, right? And he does explore through the book, but at the beginning, boom, 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 3 religions within 3 chapters. That's a lot of quick work. Anyone else? All right, so now that we're just thinking about the book, all right, got that language, all right, swirling around the book. Let's move to the next question. We're going to identify here. Identify topics, all right, topics that Hess' Siddhartha addresses. So topics that the book addresses. Maritza.
One was just religion.
Religion, good. Religion. Yep. Kristen.
Spiritual journeys.
Okay, spirituality, spiritual journeys, good. Lacey.
Materialism.
Materialism, excellent. Kayla.
Lust.
Lust, good. This is where Kamala comes into play. Good. Noah.
Finding yourself, being able to self-identify who you are.
Excellent, good. Chase.
Greed.
Greed. Yeah, where does that play a role?
Plays a role when he's in the town, and it's part of materialism, almost.
Excellent, good. Anyone else? Okay. Next level, all right, let's do some summarizing here. Okay, we got topics in place, we got adjectives in place. As concisely as possible, summarize the storyline represented in Siddhartha. Think about it for a second, all right, because you're actually going to have to summarize about 100 pages here in just a couple sentences. But can someone verbally summarize the storyline? Chase, you got it?
I think so. The explorations when he starts out at the temple, and then the rising actions when he goes and lives with the Samanas, and then the climax is when he goes to the city and becomes all like a businessman, and then the following action is when he goes to the river, and then he finds himself at the very bottom.
Good, good. Chase, that's pretty good, man. All right, I'll give you 2 points for that, actually. All right, Kristen.
I agree with Chase up until the climax because I felt like there was several smaller climaxes in the book because it. I think definitely the climax, like Chase said, was when he goes to the city and becomes a businessman. But then it falls a little, and then when he discovers that he's finding himself by the river, that's another climax, and then it falls, and then when his son finds out he has a son, and then it really declines and, yeah.
All right. So Kristen, I like how you're thinking here. Can we maybe suggest something that we learned from Hamlet? Do you remember in Hamlet there was actually two climaxes? One was the turning point in the story, and the other one was the emotional high point. You think we might be dealing with something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So with what you were saying, maybe the turning point is his time in samsara, right, as a businessman living in the material world, and he realizes that that's not the answer. So it turns back to spirituality a little bit.
Yeah.
But then the emotional high point would be, at the river, when he does find
Yeah,
that.
and then when he finds out he has a son.
Okay. Yeah. Come on in, Ethan. Good morning. Ethan, you need a half sheet of paper, right? We're right in the middle of a forum. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Ethan, remember you can respond verbally to get points, or you can write on your piece of paper as well. All right. Next question then. We're going to go beyond the text here. All right. We're going to push beyond just kind of simple summaries and descriptions of the text. All right. So I have 3 questions to do that. Question number 1, determine Hess's purpose for writing Siddhartha. Okay. Think about it. All right. It's really asking you to evaluate / speculate here. Determine Hess, our author, his purpose for writing this novel. Think about it for a second. All right, what do you guys got? Junior?
One of the things I remember you telling us is before we read it, it was after World War II, and when these religions like this were getting big, and the Western religions don't really think there's any other way for enlightenment other than their way, and these say they're not the only way, so it's maybe tolerance for other religions, knowing that there's other ways to find it.
Good response, Junior. I'm going to help you out on one part. It was after World War I. Okay, but still, I like the ideas. Good. Kayla?
Yeah, I really agree with what Virginia said. And what I said was just kind of like he explored kind of the religion of the third, one of the religions of the third world. And he really wanted to expose it to show that there are other ways to seek enlightenment.
Good.
There's other, gods or religions.
Good. So I've heard a couple key words. Junior said tolerance, all right? Tolerance of other religions, which is not practiced in the Western world, which that narrow-mindedness led to a world war, right? He was disgusted by that. And then exposure, right? Exposure to those things, okay? Maybe there's a lot of people in Europe that Hermann Hesse believes don't even know about Buddhism, right, in 1932. Or they don't even know about Hinduism, okay? So he's writing the book to create awareness. What are some other ideas here? Trent and then Lacey.
I just, in response to that whole World War I and everything, how he's kind of showing people that there's more to life than just materialism, more than just that samsara, and how especially even nowadays, just everyone's so focused on materialistic things, especially in the Western culture. There's just kind of a way to say, there's more to life than just, what seems to be right in front of you.
Good. I'm really glad you brought up that idea of materialism. Have you guys ever thought that war is essentially an extension of our addiction to materialism? Right? If you think that there's truth in that statement, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. So if that's true, if that's the case, then Trent's right on here. That Hermann Hesse was probably trying to expose that the most disgusting form of materialism might be world war. Okay? So he turns his gaze to religions that emphasize minimalism, right? That we should have fewer things in our lives, right? And what we should be filled with are interior things like peace of mind and internal joy and spiritual health. Okay? Lacey, last idea on this one, then we'll move on.
I think along with that, he was challenging people in general to explore what they believe or what's out there and consider bigger questions of why they're here and what's out there and how they're spending their time and what they're focusing on.
Good, big questions, right? He wants people to ask those things,
Yeah.
right? Does he want seniors in Ellensburg to ask those things? I'd say so, right? Especially right now, getting ready to graduate here pretty soon. There might be some big questions coming your way. And he would say, engage those, right? Engage those. Good job, Lacey. Okay, number 2 up here. How does this affect the way that you interpret this story? All right, this is a tricky one. This is a challenging one, all right? We just built up all these awesome speculations and ideas about why he wrote this story. How does that information then affect how you interpret and understand the story? Kayla and then Kristen. Willie, you can move around too, but.
I would say that it kind of opened my mind a little bit. Usually when most of the time when I read a book, I'm really narrow-minded because you read the back cover and you kind of already know. But I feel like with this one, there was so much in it that it really opened your mind up to different and new ideas.
Good, good response. I like that, right? So it allowed you to open your perspective on it. Good. Junior and Parker, I saw you talking there. Do you guys have something you want to share? What's that? Okay, all right, stay on task. Kristen?
As far as like understanding, I had kind of a little trouble once we found out that it was in response to World War I, because I couldn't really place like when the story was taking place, because I thought he wrote it after World War I for the time period of after World War I.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the first few chapters, I couldn't really figure out where we were, like what we were doing over in America, what was going on.
So did you eventually
I
understand
figured
his
it out,
time frame?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was still kind of confusing for me at first, but I figured it out.
Yeah, he makes a bold decision, right? Think about his decision. He says, I want to respond to World War I, which took place essentially 1915 to 1920, right? But the way that I'm going to respond is I'm going to set the narrative. I'm going to write a narrative that is set 500 years before Christ is born. That's not the common way to address current events, but there's the beauty in it, right, and the creativity. I'm glad you finally figured it out. Lacey?
I think knowing some of the history beforehand and having the background was really of benefit, because when I read the book, instead of reading it just as another story, I felt more of a connection, and like I was looking for metaphors and things that I could relate to in my life and society now, and I think it made it that much more interesting.
Good response. Good response. Bonus question. Bonus question. What was the other book that is a response to World War I in this class? Somebody raise their hand. Ethan?
Brave New World.
Brave New World. Okay. So with that in mind, how does Siddhartha Hermann Hesse compare to Brave New World as a response to World War I? Right? I see you shaking your head going like, whoa, right? Huge question. That's why it's a bonus question, folks. It's not even on the board. I couldn't even write it. It was that intense. Chase, drop it like it's hot, bud.
Both show deeper meaning to life than just materialism.
Both do. Yeah, excellent, good. I like the comparison. So both show deeper meaning to life, right? Okay? Kristen?
I think it's two ends of the spectrum, as far as like, in Brave New World, you were forced to think a certain way and you were forced to do what you had to do, and then in Siddhartha, he was so open, he could do whatever he wanted to do after he left the Brahmin.
Nice. I've never thought about it that way, Kristen, right? Both ends of the spectrum. The characters in Brave New World, they don't have any freedom, right? Live in a very rigid society. It seemed like in Siddhartha, Sid, right, the main character, could come and go through different lifestyles, different groups of people, different religions as he pleased, right? So he had a lot of freedom to explore. Yeah, I like that idea. Haley?
In both the books, the characters sort of start to question what's around them. Like Siddhartha starts to question whether his spirituality is correct or whether it's doing him any good. And then in Brave New World, Bernard is questioning society itself.
Good, excellent. So is it safe to say that both authors, Aldous Huxley and Hermann Hesse, are suggesting that we need to question our surroundings? We need to explore our surroundings, right, to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of and you get to see what's out there? Don't they do it in totally different ways, though? I mean, if you look at both books, you see that they're achieving the same thing, but man, are they, I mean, they're apples and oranges, really, right? But you can compare their ideas. You can compare their ideas. Duncan?
I feel like both books are showing where society could go. Brave New World is saying like the negative direction that it could go, where everybody's controlled, and Siddhartha is showing a positive direction where everybody can express whatever they want to and however they want to.
Nice. I like that idea. So maybe Huxley's a little bit more pessimistic, right? Siddhartha is a little bit more optimistic. Good. All right, that was a bonus question. Okay, so those people that responded, I might give you a little more points, a few more points than when I score. Next question here. While reading the novel, did you make any text-to-self connections? Perhaps you made a connection between Sid's religious beliefs or explorations and your own religious beliefs or explorations. All right. Feel free to talk about your own religion in here. It's a safe place. Think about it. Any text-to-self connections? Trent?
Right at the start, when he's just going through, he's asking all those questions. I could really connect because those are a lot of the same questions I've asked myself and I've really thought about them. So when I was reading it, it was almost like just kind of like re-seeing what I hadn't seen before, just kind of asking it in a different way. It was just kind of fun.
Same process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it make you feel better about when you went through the process? Like that was definitely a good thing to do when you were asking those questions?
Yeah, because I mean, it was just, for me, it's just, taking time just to think about things. And then when I really think, I really feel like I'm, then I'm not just kind of floating around, like I know I get a purpose of what I'm doing.
Awesome. Good. Well, I'm glad you can make that connection. Lacey?
I was a little confused, but then also appreciative of towards the end when he was spending all his time by the river.
Yeah.
And when he was talking about when he was reaching enlightenment by listening to the river and stuff, I was considering that was like a metaphor as him like making this connection with God. And so him like reaching his enlightenment was what I would consider like a person like picking themselves up for Jesus and making that like accepting the Holy Spirit into themselves. And so when I looked at it that way, I appreciated his like what he took from that more, and I thought it was really exciting how that transformed him, and I hadn't even looked at the topic of enlightenment that way before.
Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that. You made me think about, both in the Christian doctrine and then in, Sid's eventual religion, whatever you want to call it, his oneness with God.
Yeah.
Both of them use water, right, as a huge symbol, right, of rebirth. So you have the river in Sid's tale, right, and then you have multiple bodies of water in Christian stories talking about rebirth and baptism, things like that. Right? So I made some connections there too. Noah?
I kind of enjoyed as you were reading, like you could just kind of identify kind of similarities between what he would say and just like, for me, like my beliefs and just how they kind of connected. It was just interesting to hear some of that, and just also kind of with what Trent said, just like the questions he was asking, like I just thought they were really good. And they're kind of eye-opening just to, say like, whoa, just kind of take a step back and like evaluate things, so it was kind of cool.
Big questions, right? Yeah, important ones too. Well, I'm glad you made those connections. Junior, and then Ethan, and then Haley.
This one's a little different, but
Sure.
extra self-connections, like sticking to the basics will help you move on. Like, for me, it'd be sports, he's at the beginning, and he's sticking to the basic things to get better, and then you start getting into materialism, which is like getting all cocky when you play sports and doing all the flashy stuff.
Right.
And if you really want to move on, you have to go back to the basics, which you did.
Good, I like that, right? Even the best pro athletes, what do they work on every day? The basics,
That's it.
right? And if they ever lose track of those, they're gonna get caught up in ego, their game's gonna drop. Yeah, I like that connection, that's an awesome connection, right? I think athletes and anybody that performs, right, can remember that, okay? Where were we at? Who was next? Ethan?
Well, the text stuff connection that I made was, Siddhartha's searching for something to make him complete throughout most of the book. And currently I am between religions because I've just been through a few rough patches and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I might want to have from a religion. So
Sure.
that just struck a key for me.
Good, and thanks for sharing, because I know about your rough patches, Ethan, so I can see why you're going through some of that exploration right. Best of luck with that too. Haley?
I really found myself connecting with the very end when he's talking about the rock, that there is sort of connection between all things and importance in all things, and that's sort of, I guess, how I read it.
Awesome. Yeah, but by the end, Siddhartha has almost created his own religion. If you agree with that, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. And yes, it's this connection to everything. I mean, he does see value in meaning in every form he encounters in his life, from a rock to a river to his child to a businessman to a city, right? To ideas. It's all connected, it's all relevant, and it's all important, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm glad you made that connection. All right, for sake of time, we're going to move on to the next question, which is another level, all right? So we're going to move on to level 4 here, digging even deeper. This is called synthesis here, all right? Synthesis means that we're going to merge a couple different pieces of information together. So what connections did you make between Siddhartha and Bernardo Bertolucci's film Little Buddha? And here's some topics or areas that you can go ahead and dive into. You have themes, you have characters, you have symbols, you have storylines. Was there anything that connected? Let me state the obvious, okay? Let me state the obvious because I want to challenge you guys here. Yes, Siddhartha Gautama, the character in Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, was also in Little Buddha, the movie, all right? Because Little Buddha retold the story of Siddhartha Gautama's, right? The original Buddha, his spiritual development. With that one out of the way, you can't pick that one, all right? I know you're going there. What are some connections? Think about it. Remember, you can still write down your responses if you want. You can share them verbally if you'd like. No, I see one. About to happen. Yeah. Good, let those wheels turn, man. Duncan.
I'd say the characters kind of relate, like Siddhartha is kind of like Jesse and his family. Kind of the different ways that Siddhartha goes. I feel like each person in Jesse's family is one of those ways.
Nice.
Like Jesse all along has been kind of open to the idea, going along with it, where at first his dad seems like he's more materialized and doesn't really care that much. And when the book goes along at the end, they're like all in it together kind of deal. So
Nice.
Siddhartha is that, yeah.
So let me get this right, Dunk, because that was some heavy duty stuff there. You have Sid in Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha,
Yeah.
right, connecting to Jesse and his family.
Yeah.
And each member in the family represents a different part of Siddhartha's spiritual exploration.
Yeah.
Right? So Little Buddha divides that character into 3 different characters, essentially. That's awesome. That's super awesome, Doug. I like that a lot. Kristen?
Kind of like Duncan said, but I definitely saw some similarities between the characters. Like Siddhartha, his dad, which was the Brahmin, relates to Siddhartha Gautama's dad, who wanted to like keep him protected. And then Siddhartha's like friend Govinda related to Siddhartha Gautama's, the guy who was like beating him around and like telling him about suffering and death.
Yes.
And I don't know who that guy was, but he reminded me.
I don't think we ever find out his name. it's always Siddhartha Gautama's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the connections I made. I thought he parallels Govinda, right, in Hermann Hesse's story. Yeah, so good connection. And then the fathers, good connection there. Haley?
As far as symbols go, I'd say that the river is a connection, because in Siddhartha, we know that he learns from the river and speaks to him and sort of sacred that way. Also in the movie, when they were doing that story, they said how they get the ashes of the dead to the river. So it's sacred that way too.
Yeah, right, so the rivers are also showing up, right? I don't know about you guys, but I love when I can make, in this case, text-to-text connections, because I believe it creates one big story though, right? And I love it when artists discuss the same topics within their own work, okay? Some pictures here for you guys, all right? Tanner, watch it. Level 4, all right, some analysis here. Eyes up on the screen because you're going to have to see these visuals as a reminder. After observing the pictures below and thinking about Little Buddha's discussion of Buddhist murals, which are pictured right here, you have Buddhist sand murals, right, being designed by Buddhists. Could take years, months to design these. They're beautiful, don't you think? Yeah. And then this is the end product, actually. And you'll notice that you have people wiping the sand away. All right? What does this symbolize? What does this Buddhist mural symbolize? Lacey?
It symbolizes how everything is temporary in life. And I know in the movie they discussed it briefly, but how as hard as you work for some things here, they won't gonna help you in the end game. And I believe that this is like we're here in a temporary world, and it's all for. In the end, it's gonna be something even better.
Good.
And which isn't even gonna compare at all. And this is just where we're here now for a reason, but it's like how like some like older religions, like kings would like fear their treasure and stuff, thinking that they could take it with them, but it doesn't benefit them in the future as good as a good person or as bad as a person you are now.
Good. Good. So to kind of summarize what Lacey said there, right? This is life. It's good. It's beautiful. It has purpose. But over here, it is only temporary, right? It can be wiped away quickly. And both of those things have purpose. Who had their hands up? Duncan.
I think it kind of symbolizes reincarnation in a way, because especially them just being Buddhists, it just shows like they worked so hard and they put so much time into one life, but then they're perfectly happy with it ending and then just starting all over again and doing it again.
Okay. All right. I see a lot of hands up, but we don't have much time left. So what I would like to do, those people that have their hands up, I would like to give you some time to write your responses down on paper. Okay? So Junior and company can go ahead and write. For those people that didn't have a response to that one, this is your last question. All right, and I want you guys to write a written response, okay? It's reflection. I want you to write 3 to 5 sentences that explain what you will take away from our Siddhartha unit. What will you take away? And I know the bell's going to ring here, all right? So if you're not done with your reflection, just stick around for just a couple minutes after the bell, all right? And then I'll write you a pass if we need to. Okay? All right, Billy.